It started with a bright orange notice slapped on my windshield. HOA violation, excess vehicles. Fine, $2.5. Recurring monthly until compliance. I logged it first. I actually thought someone was pranking me. Yes, there were a lot of cars, 8 of them, to be exact, lined neatly along the curb and in my driveway. But every single one was registered, insured, and legally parked. No fire lanes blocked. No hydrants touched. No rules violated, at least not any city rules. Apparently, the HOA thought otherwise. 2 days later, I received a letter. The HOA had determined that my property was being used for commercial or multifamily purposes because of the number of vehicles. They raised my monthly HOA fees, added a special assessment, and threatened towing if I didn't reduce vehicle count immediately. I emailed back politely. Attached photos. Attached city code. Attached their own HOA bylaws showing no numerical vehicle limit. Their response: attendance is mandatory at the next HOA board meeting to discuss ongoing violations. Fine. I marked my calendar. The HOA board meeting. The room was packed. About 30 homeowners sat in folding chairs, whispering. I recognized most of them, same face I'd seen for years, waving politely, never any trouble. At the front sat the HOA board. Karen-in-chief, president. The treasurer. The vice president. And a lawyer-looking guy who clearly billed by the hour. Karen adjusted her glasses and sighed dramatically. Let's discuss the parking problem, she said, staring straight at me. Some people think the rules don't apply to them. Murmurs filled the room. She continued, 8 vehicles at one residence is excessive. This is a community, not a car lot. I raised my hand. Yes, she snapped. I'd like to know which rule I violated, I said calmly. She smirked. The board has discretionary authority to assess fees when behavior impacts property values. The treasurer chimed in. Frankly, your operation looks suspicious. Operation? Someone behind me whispered, is he running a chop shop? Karen smiled, enjoying this. We're waiting tonight to approve increased fees until the situation is resolved. Before you wait, I said, standing up, I'd like to ask one question. She rolled her eyes. Make it quick. I smiled. Can you confirm who owns the house you live in, Karen? The room went quiet. She frowned. That's irrelevant. I nodded. Okay. How about you? I pointed at the treasurer. Or you? The vice president. Or any of you? The lawyer shifted in his chair. Karen slammed her gavel. This meeting is not the place for. Because, I interrupted, every house on this block is owned by the same person. Now the room went dead silent. And that person, I said, pulling a folder from my bag, is me. I laid the documents on the table. Deeds. Titles. Look, ownership records. County property filings. One by one. Karen stared like her brain had unplugged. That's impossible, she said weakly. I slid her own deed, highlighting the ownership section. My name. My company. My signature. I bought the block 3 years ago, I said. Quietly. Through separate locks, no drama. No evictions. Same rents. Same neighbors. The treasurer's face drained of color. You're landlord, he whispered. Yours, I said. And yours. And yours. I turned to the room. Every homeowner here is actually a tenant. You just didn't know it. Ooh. Chaz erupted. People whispered. Someone cursed. Someone logged nervously. Karen stood up. This is harassment. You should have disclosed. Disclose what? I asked. That I follow the rules. That I pay HOA dues. That I own my own property. The lawyer finally spoke. If what he's saying is true, Guy. It is, I said. And you're fining me for cars that belong to my tenants. Karen stammered. We can reverse the fees. Good, I replied. Because if you don't, I'll dissolve the HOA. Her head snapped up. You can't. I smiled again. I own over 60% of the properties, I said. Which means I control the voting power. Which means this board only exists because I allow it. Silence. Then I added, also. I'll need everyone's rent checks by Friday. The meeting ended early. The aftermath. By morning, every violation was withdrawn. Every fee reversed. Every towing threat cancelled. Karen resigned within a week. The whole board was restructured. And the parking rules? Never mentioned again. The cars stayed right where they were. Because it turns out, when you try to bully someone without knowing who actually owns the ground you're standing on, you might end up finding your landlord.